Hi, Babs.
Hiya. All right.
Yeah, it's just me at the moment.
Okay. Well, it's 7 minutes to go, isn't it? So we're early.
Yeah, we're okay. How you keeping?
Yeah. All right. You?
Yeah, not bad. Just been one of those days. So much to do. Not enough time.
Oh, so much time, nothing to do is my problem.
I should give you all my work to do then.
Yeah. Yeah. Why not? Why not? Yeah. It is. It's just trying to find enough stuff to do to fill the time. That is difficult at the moment, but there you are.
How about applications at various jobs and things? Have you found much joy?
No, I mean, first of all, it's actually finding anything, and then it's finding anything that's going to work, because I need flexibility, you see, because of Francesca. So it is tricky. I mean, I've got a few bits going on, but nothing, not enough. Put it that way, not enough.
Yeah.
We'll see.
What do you think of sort of the situation going forward? Do you think, in terms of employment prospects, they're going to worsen? Do you think what's
No, they'll get far worse. Far worse. Yeah. Oh God, yes. I mean, it's bad enough now, and it is going to get worse. Yeah, and I mean, unfortunately, you know, just from a personal point of view, I'm the wrong sex and the wrong age, and it doesn't help. And of course, I've got nothing in the way of qualifications either, and I'm no good on computers, so it limits my choices. Yeah. So anyway, we'll see.
Well, if I think of anything, I'll certainly let you know.
All right. Thanks.
Hi, John. You had John. He's gone now. Angela, you all right? Oh, Angela's gone as well. Not doing very well on mine today. Rodney? Hi, Rodney. I can always rely on Rodney. Well, it just seems like it's just you, Babs, cares about me today.
Yeah. As I say, nobody else wants to speak to you, do they?
Oh, we've got you speaking today. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Parmdeep, just before we get this one on, I know you're aware of Des Cloak's. Oops, he's not on, is he?
He was a second ago. I rang him last week. We had a good chat.
Also, Derek Hull's got a significant anniversary. I think it was over the weekend, 60 years since he was elected.
Yes, I've got that in mind, because Derek's actually going to be sharing life during the pandemic. So.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And he's going to be mentioning. It's 60 years since he's ordained, right?
Yes, he ordained as a deacon.
Wow.
And
he was ordained very young then.
I'm not sure how old he is now.
It says 60 years ago. 60 years since he was ordained.
Yeah.
Very good. That's what I like about Rotary. There's all sorts of interesting people here.
Yeah.
And they never shout about their backgrounds. You just got to find it out by mistake.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like with, I can't remember the name, who one of our members found out at his service, his funeral service, that he had been involved in making the Golden Dome in Jerusalem.
Wow.
Remind me who that is.
That's how I felt when I found out you were a rally co-driver.
Well, I'm getting quite a lot of talks, but too long for a Leicester meeting, I think.
Hi, Pam.
Hi, Parmdeep.
All right if I join you?
Yes, of course. Please do. Good afternoon. Hi, Roger.
Hi.
Hi, Moira. I can see Patrick. Hi. Hi, Bernard. Hi, Ed.
Hello.
Angela. Hi, Angela.
Hello.
It was nice to speak to you last week.
And you?
So your dad's got a fascinating history.
Yes, and I'm in trouble.
Why? What have you done?
He's here anyway, so now I've got to change the name.
Oh, I'll change it. Don't worry. I can do
Oh, right, lovely, thank you.
So when's his birthday? Is it on the 1st?
Yeah.
Well, happy birthday, Des, from all of us. Happy 90th.
Hang on a minute, let me put him on. Okay.
Hi, Des.
Hi.
Hi.
Happy birthday, Des.
I'll leave you all to it.
Yes, I rang Des last week to wish him a happy birthday. And I think you thought I was a double glazing salesman or something. I didn't get very far. But then Angela called me back. We had a good chat. So happy birthday, Des.
Thank you. Yeah, I was surprised. He even announced it at church yesterday. I thought, my goodness, what's all this about? Anyway,
Right.
it's good to survive.
Hi, John. You changed location, have you?
Yeah.
John Saunders. Have you
Sorry,
changed?
say again.
Have you moved to a different room today?
No, I've been given a webcam from my PC, and I was trying to use that, but you couldn't hear you at all. So I've gone back to my pad.
Oh, in your settings in the bottom left, where that little microphone is, you can change the output to.
Yeah, I need to play. It's only been delivered 10 minutes ago. I need to play with it.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
We've all
What were you on
become,
before, John?
Sorry,
What were you using before?
iPad.
Have you got a microphone for your PC?
Yes, it's with the camera.
All right, okay, so you got both, because I've got on mine I had a microphone, but no, I haven't got a webcam, so you can hear me, but you can't see me, which is probably actually advantageous. But
Oh, this one's meant to have both. All you do is plug it in and it works. No, it doesn't.
John, there's probably a switch on the microphone. I had a Zoom meeting completely sabotaged by that, so I used my headset. But
Well, there's no switches on it at all.
on the cable, probably.
No.
Okay.
I'll have a play with it later. I'll try and get it working. Because on a iPad, you can only see 9 people at a time.
that's plenty.
David.
Yeah,
David Bronson.
David Bronson.
Which one?
Have you had an invoice yet for those parts for the riding for the disabled?
Yes, I paid that.
Right. I'm going to say, can you let me have the invoice as soon as you get it?
Yeah, it's a pro forma invoice. I can send that through though if you want it.
Okay, well that will probably do, because I want to get the final report done on that one.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Just got an unwelcome visitor here, a wasp. I opened the window and get some air in. Now I've got a wasp as well. I think I might just go and get someone to get rid of that.
Hi, Chris. Hi, Nick.
Yes.
Hi, Parmdeep.
Hi, Parmdeep.
So we've got you sharing a bit later on, Chris. Is that right?
Yes. Okay. Yes. All geared up. Such
I
as it
expect
is.
nothing less. So we've got Moira, Derek, who's not with us just yet. Chris, Leanne, Babs, and Bennett. Okay. So we've got 6 members sharing life during the pandemic today. Give it a couple of more minutes, see if we get the other speakers on, and then we can start.
Oh, come on.
I'm just thinking.
Hang on.
Patrick, thanks for your help with the Constitution.
All right. Yes.
Managed to submit that yesterday morning.
We probably ought to sometime add provisions regularizing the use of electronic communications and things like that. There is a standard clause
which the Charity Commission are floating around. I've just added it to two charities that I'm trustee of, just to make it completely clear that you can use things like Zoom and email messaging and so on and voting. But it's not urgent. I think wait until we've found out whether we still survive.
Yeah.
The club survives the virus.
Do we need anything in relation to GDPR or
Pardon?
Do we need anything related to GDPR and
No,
legislation?
you need a provision in your constitution to allow you to have electronic communications and electronic meetings and so on, about the procedure of meetings and voting.
Right.
I mean, actually, in fact, although we're not covered by the standard RIBI constitution because we stand outside it, but the RIBI Council has in fact just passed an instruction that no club or district is to have face-to-face meetings for the time being,
Yeah.
and they are to be entirely electronic.
Okay. Right, let's make a start. We do have, oh, Derek's here. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've just got Leanne missing, so we'll start. So welcome. Let me just mute everybody so we don't get any background noise. Welcome, Derek.
Thank you. Thank you.
Look forward to having you share your story a bit later on. Okay, everybody should be muted now. So if you do need to come back or have a question, you can always unmute yourself. I just do that because we get lots of background noise and it can get a bit tricky to run the meeting. So welcome to this meeting. It's of the Rotary Club of Leicester on the 28th of September 2020. Today will be a fellowship meeting at which we will be receiving reports about the work of the club's various committees. And following this, we have 6 members who've kindly agreed to give short talks about their experiences of life during the pandemic. And those members will be Bernard Greaves, Babs Marson, Leanne, I'm not going to try and pronounce her surname, I think I'll probably make a mess of it, Chris Mitchell, Derek Hole, and Moira Bartlett. So, welcome to Pam Spokes. And Louise, you'll be formally inducted next week, is that correct?
Yes, apparently it's painless.
We'll do our best.
I'm looking forward to it. It's lovely to be here.
Yes, me too. I'm very much looking forward to it. So that'll be great. Any other guests or any greetings from other clubs? No? Okay. So just once again, for those of you who didn't catch it earlier on, happy birthday to Des, who's going to be 95 on the 1st of October. He's with us, so good stuff. And just wanted to mention, I've been in touch with John Aldrich, and he's very, very pleased to hear from members and to know that we're thinking of him. So please do feel free to drop him a line and let him know that we're praying for him and his wife, June. Right, so let's move on to secretary's notices. We don't have any because Barry's not around today. We'll move on to committee chairman, and I will start with foundation, please. David Howard. You'll need to unmute first, please, David.
Okay.
Yep.
Can you hear me?
I can, yeah.
Foundation's been reasonably busy. We've done 2 grants, which you probably know about, so it may not be news, but we've done the Age UK food bank, and we have done beds for Charity Link, beds for the homeless. I submitted a report for beds for the homeless, and that's been approved, so I don't need to do any more with that. I submitted the Age Concern one before that, but I haven't had any response other than that I've had a acknowledgement that it's been submitted. The next thing we're planning to do is to see if we can get £1,000 grant for Parmdeep's Rotary for Food Banks project. I'll probably be talking to Parmdeep about that shortly, and we'll see how we can progress that. So I think we are up to date with all our reporting. John Saunders was looking after the Riding for Disabled one. That's dragging on a bit, but I think he's about to submit the final report. Nothing much else on Foundation.
Okay. Thanks, David. Service projects, Moira?
There's not very much to say. The schools are back, but what I'm finding is that the schools aren't doing after school clubs or anything like that. So all the activity in school is with the essential education, try and catch up what they missed. We will certainly have young writer, and we should have young photographer. Not sure about the rest. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Nick, for membership. Please, Nick, you'll need to unmute yourself.
Mute.
There we go.
There we are. So, first of all, numbers. We're now down to 52 membership, with Clive Bouch and George Preston having resigned due to their declining health. However, we do have a new member, as has been mentioned just now, who will be inducted next week. So that'll bring the membership back up to 53. Let's hope we have a big turnout to welcome her into the club next week. We've had a number of inquiries arising from our website and our social media postings, and I think thanks must go to Diana and Scott for their efforts in online media. Most have, however, fizzled away, despite, or perhaps because of, my attempts to bring them into a meeting. There is one that I hope we can land, and that's ongoing. The membership committee have been looking at how we can significantly be more proactive in recruiting potential Rotarians. And following a lively discussion at council earlier this month, I'm in the process now of drafting a strategic direction statement, you'll be pleased to hear, to present to council in time for October's meeting. Obviously, we're restricted in what we can do until the COVID measures are eased, but we think there are some actions that we can take in the meantime. And on that, obviously, President Parmdeep's initiatives with enthusiasts at DMU is taking shape, and we're working up the establishment and sponsoring of a Rotaract club there. And some volunteering work has already begun. So that's looking good, although that won't bring our membership numbers up. It's something that we as a club are contributing to Rotary membership and getting enthusiasts, hopefully, some of whom may come through into our club and other clubs around the country as they all go home from university. And with a bit of luck, that Rotaract club will sustain itself. So, you know, we think it's a good thing. And we will be their sponsor for the time being. And we'll see how it all goes. At the risk of preempting my report, but this is too good an opportunity to miss, really, I think that there is a route to Rotarian recruitment through seeking volunteers to work on projects. So it would be helpful to have your thoughts, any of your thoughts really, on some local action projects that we might try to get going. So any suggestions would be welcome. I suppose in theory that probably has to go through Moira, doesn't it, really? But whatever, I think we need to get some projects going sort of oven ready, if you like, and recruit some volunteers, and hopefully they will see that as a good thing to then become a Rotarian. We haven't lost sight of corporate membership, but like so much else, COVID restrictions make enthusiastic enrolment somewhat less appealing. I think that in whatever we do to recruit, we should be offering corporate membership as an alternative to suitable candidates anyway. So in conclusion, we're working on it and hope to have more to report and get you all involved soon. Meantime, any project ideas, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. This might be a good opportunity to mention something. I'm just going to share my screen. Please give me a thumbs up if that appears. Yeah, everyone can see that. Okay, so this is sort of just an outline of what I'm trying to do this year. And Nick, you just mentioned other projects. Sue's been pretty good. Sue McKenniff has been very instrumental in helping me find various projects for the DMU students to get involved in. And I've already had one confirmed now with Young Leicestershire. They have a clubhouse, I suppose. I haven't been there yet, but it needs some painting and other bits doing. So that kind of falls very squarely in that other projects box for me. And perhaps Moira, we could talk a bit about that and just sort of see how we could scale those sorts of projects that will come up now that we've started doing that particular one. I also did one with, can you everyone see that picture there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's the collection of Vista money boxes and Maria is the girl who's going to be creating the Rotaract Club. She's the one who approached us, and she had about three of her friends come along. And this is before the university officially starts again with students coming back. They're back. She told me they're back on the 5th of October. So and she's had lots of interest from students, partly because they're all having to study online this year. So they really haven't much opportunities available to them for social interaction with each other. So here's a great way for them to pad their CVs, meet other students, and do something good with all the extra time they're going to have on their hands because they're not going to lectures as much as they normally would do. So I think it's a great time to be getting young people involved in projects. Now, if I just go back to my little document, which I just want to... So really, what I've done here is the volunteers will come from places like, well, obviously ourselves, Rotary, Friends, Family. Val is Voluntary Action Leicestershire, which I've already spoken to, and they're very interested in providing us with volunteers. They've got hundreds of them registered. DMU Local, I've also been in touch and have confirmed they'd be happy to mail their database for volunteers. DMU Alumni, I'm in touch with, their network. So the volunteers are I think are going to be very numerous for us to get involved in whatever projects we can come up with, as long as they're, I suppose, the commitment's not too large. So, for example, the Vista one was pretty simple. We just drove around and went into shops and collected the money and gave it to the man from Vista, so Paul Taylor, who was very helpful. And so what I've tried to do here is create a sort of a positive feedback loop, because as you get more volunteers doing more projects, that can generate more publicity, as they inevitably will post about on social media, and Scott's done some fantastic PR and things like that. From the PR, that can help you in the fundraising. So on the fundraising side, yesterday we've applied for a £5,000 grant from the Coronavirus Support Fund, and we're looking at various other sources of funding, as well as the Just Giving page we've set up. I'm looking to approach local businesses and various other, and David just mentioned the district funding as well. As we raise more funds, we can then go and purchase more food. The food comes from Morrison's ultimately, and it's the Rotary for Food Banks network that purchase from Morrison's and then distribute to the local food banks that we are in the process of signing up. So we already have Age UK. I've today sent in the application for the Ganesh Pension Trust. And again, that referral came from Sue. And I've also spoken to Open Hands, Help the Homeless and others, which will start to filter in. So really, and as you get more food banks and projects, you get more volunteers, and it just keeps feeding itself. So that's really the kind of ultimate plan for my year, barring all the kind of challenges around what we're able to do in terms of events and gatherings and that sort of thing. So yeah, okay. At this point, I'll move on to communication. Ed, I'll just stop sharing. Ed?
Hi, thanks, President Parmdeep. Well, the role of Speaker Find has been a different role, I think, during COVID. While it's sad that we can't sit together in a room and enjoy lunch and a speaker, actually being on Zoom has broadened my horizons significantly. And I'm very grateful for the district speaker list that is provided on a regular basis. It's been a great source of variety, and I think we've got 3 or 4 coming up that I hope the fellow Rotarians will enjoy very much. I mean, my feeling is in a world where so much of our options are restricted, in terms of speaker finding, variety must be the spice of life. I want to have a fairly varied topic range, and I think you'll find the ones you've had recently have been exactly that. I'm fully booked up now for October and November, but I do want to get December and January tied down. But December very much will depend on what we want to do as a club over the festive season, and I will liaise with President Parmdeep and Barry and others to see what we're planning, because of course we would normally have a Christmas lunch and that simply can't happen. But as in everything, I've been really grateful to fellow Rotarians for volunteering. We've got 1 or 2 coming up in the diary. Please do put me in touch with anybody you can think of who may be a good speaker for the club. I don't mind people saying no, but I will ask everybody. So please do send your suggestions through to me or via Barry. So it's an interesting role. I'm enjoying it. Hopefully you're enjoying the speakers, and do let me know if you've got anybody in mind.
Thank you, Ed. I think you're doing a great job with this, and it's great to see that you've planned ahead as well. So did you say until the end of October we're all set?
No, through the end of November we're all booked.
November. Fantastic.
I do want to get December done, because it may be a slightly difficult time to get people to commit, although, you know, no one's travelling anywhere, but we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, well done. Okay.
Ed, can I just say that there's always been, everybody sort of shies away from being speaker finder, but I've done it 3 times in our club and once in Exeter, and it is extremely rewarding. And I always encourage, if I was depressed any time, I just thought about the guidance from our founder secretary back in 1916, who said that the speaker finder can do more damage to the club than a bad chef.
What are you trying to tell me, Patrick?
Sorry?
What are you trying to tell me? I know, I'm kidding. No, that's great. It is. I'm enjoying it. I think it's lovely to meet all these people and help them through the speaking. It's great.
Yeah, excellent. David, I've got a note here. David Howard, are you going to be talking a bit about social media, because Scott isn't able to today? The exact wording is Scott Gallagher will provide a brief report on social media. He will ask David Howard to present it as he cannot join the meeting.
Right. Well, I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, I thought not.
I don't know if he sent me something as an attachment and I haven't read it, but it's news to me. I don't do social media. I can see you smiling. I binned Facebook a long time ago because I got finding out all kinds of nonsense about people I didn't particularly know. So I haven't been persuaded to get back into it yet. And I don't Twitter, and I don't, what's the other one, Instagram? There's all sorts of nonsense. I'm afraid I don't buy into it. So no, I have nothing to report.
Okay, fine. Thank you. So we're now going to move on to life during the pandemic. We've got at least five of our members are going to be sharing a bit about what they've been up to. So should we start with Bernard Greaves? If you'd just like to unmute yourself and go ahead.
Yes. When the pandemic started, I had some concerns because I suffer from multiple allergies, which is a disease of the immune system. So I wondered whether I would be highly vulnerable. But I took precautions right away from what I'd heard from my therapist. And I started boosting my levels of vitamin C and vitamin D. And I checked with her, and she confirmed that that was quite correct and advised me of the right levels that I should be taking. And she assured me that, in fact, I ought to be reasonably safe. But I've had another health problem as well. Shortly after the virus hit, I discovered I'd got high levels of wax in my ears. And over the months, it was 3 months before I could get it treated, my hearing progressively deteriorated. And the effect of that was that it increased my sense of social isolation. And I was finding meetings online difficult. I dropped out of the Rotary meetings. And I found phone calls demanded an awful high level of concentration. Anyway, that's now clear altogether. My social situation is that I live on my own. I don't have any family within 75 miles. So in that sense, I'm isolated. I've got 2 lodgers. They both have problems of their own. They find communication very difficult, and they keep in their own rooms. So I've actually felt pretty socially isolated. All the meetings that I've been going to are obviously cancelled. There have been online meetings. I actually find those quite difficult. I find the level of interaction is fairly low, and I find it difficult to engage in real debate. And I found I've spent too much time online in any event. I've spent too much time on Facebook, following the internet, watching TV, listening to radio. All that's very passive kind of stuff. And what I really miss is the one-to-one contact. I've done quite a lot of reading and a fair amount of writing, but that doesn't make up for the lack of social contact. But I think in some respects, I'm rather unlike other members of the club. I've never had a lot of money. That's a result of years of ill health. So I live on a tight budget, and my income's actually been reduced because I was doing some work for De Montfort University on a research project, and that's on hold. So that limits your choices to an extent when you're in isolation. Well, when you're restricted in the way that we are, you can buy your way out of it by spending money to go out and do things. Now that's rather limited for me, but in other respects, I'm unlike other members as well, because for many years, I've been involved in the delivery of frontline services and giving a lot of individual support to people through counselling and advice. And one of the effects of COVID-19 is that a variety of people that have been supporting over the years have got back to me because they've been in distress. And that's prompted me to understand the impact of the virus for vulnerable people. And I've really been quite surprised by the extent of it. Very high levels of loneliness and depression and anxiety, but above all, of fear. The more vulnerable people are, the more they appear to be afraid of the virus and its impact on themselves and acquiring it and becoming ill and dying. So that's one impact that has hit home to me very personally. And I've had people on the phone, and 1 or 2 visitors actually as well, talking in very, very personal terms about what's happened to them. They've also been affected very much by the withdrawal of services, the rundown of mainstream health services, particularly primary care, difficulty in accessing GPs, getting proper GP advice and support, lack of face-to-face meetings, the lack of support through social services and through voluntary organisations. And that withdrawal of services, inevitable as it's been, and people have made a lot of effort to minimise it, it's increased people's sense of isolation and for vulnerable people, their sense of despair. I've also become aware of the extent to which the benefit system, and particularly universal credit, is thoroughly dysfunctional. Some of the people I've been dealing with have had huge problems accessing benefits at a time when benefit advisors are working from home. Some people have had difficulty in proving their identity. It may seem straightforward to us, indicating who we are, but if you don't have a driving license and you don't have a passport, and you're accessing services mainly on a mobile phone, proving who you are can be very difficult indeed. And I had one case in particular of somebody who has had enormous problems in simply accessing the benefits they're entitled to. So I've got a kind of personal perspective on this. I wouldn't say that I'm depressed. I feel isolated to an extent, but I've had a fair amount of contact with other people, but online contact isn't the same thing as that face-to-face contact. And finally, just over the last couple of weeks, I've had something else that's preoccupied me. I've been asked to provide evidence to the independent inquiry into child sexual abuse in relation to Greville Janner. Now, I became aware of allegations against him back in 1991 because of a case I was working on legally, and I thought, well, really, my knowledge of it was minimal, that anything I knew was pretty marginal to the case. But in talking to them, I realised that my evidence is a lot more valuable to them than I'd thought possible, because what they're interested in is not whether he committed sexual offences or not. They're not looking at that. They're looking at the response of statutory bodies to the allegations that were made. And I've got a fair amount of evidence of that from around that period, 1991. And I've forwarded to them that they're going to use 29 documents. And I've had to spend a fair amount of time preparing the evidence I can give, either as a statement or I may be called to give evidence in person. Their public hearings begin on the 12th of October, and we'll see what happens. But that inquiry into the response to Greville Janner, it's been on hold for about 5 years, and it's now getting underway fully with the public hearings and the hearing of evidence, and presumably over a period of time they will come up with their judgments. As far as I'm concerned, I don't know whether Greville Janner committed offences or not. What I do know was there was a case that should have gone to court, that there was a prima facie case that should have been heard, and that's a failure of the police. And it's also a failure of social services in responding to the person who made those allegations and taking appropriate action for the protection of people within its care. So it's been an eventful time for me, but in a lot of ways, it's been quite a boring time. Quite a lot of the things that I've wanted to do and get on with in my life, they're on hold and can't be progressed. So that's about it.
Thank you, Bernard. Thank you for sharing. What what I'd like to do at this point is, if you do have questions and comments, what we'll do is, if it's okay, we'll take those once the members have spoken and done their part. So I'll come to questions and comments, if that's okay with you, Ben, as well. But if you can stay on,
Yes.
it'd be nice to kind of have a bit of interaction there. So thank you. We'll take Babs next.
Okay, well, an awful lot of what Bernard has just said resonated with me. I'm going to keep it reasonably brief, and I've picked 3 good things and 3 bad things. So let's start with the good things. I have watched the whole of Downton Abbey from the very first episode to the very last episode. Like David, I'm a complete nitwit when it comes to anything to do with Facebook and all these Netflix and Amazon Prime, all gobbledygook as far as I'm concerned. But Dave, my husband, he managed to get me onto Amazon, I think it was, as a guest on his account. So I watched the whole of Downton Abbey in an almighty great big dollop over several weeks, and was grief-stricken when I got to the very last episode. But there you go, it was brilliant. I have decorated my bungalow from end to end. I moved in summer last year and said at the time, I'll get round to decorating eventually. It turns out eventually was now. So I've more or less finished, but I'm slowing right down because otherwise I shall run out of things to do. And the same with my garden. Done loads and loads and loads in the garden, including, although I didn't do it myself, managed to get my greenhouse built over the weekend that's just gone. Well, I bought one because I was so fed up when all my nice little veggies got frostbitten on the one really cold day we had in the spring. So in a fit of pique, I went off and bought a greenhouse online. The thing arrived. I looked at Dave. Dave looked at me. We looked at the instruction manual and went, we can't do this. Anyway, we found a neighbour who's obviously got a bit more nous, and they spent the whole weekend putting it up. So it's done. So that's good. Bad things. Well, as quite a lot of you know, effectively, coronavirus caused me to become unemployed. I was always going to lose my job at the carers centre anyway. I knew that. I could see that coming 12 months ago, which is why I trotted off and got myself a care worker's job at South Lodge. And of course, they got coronavirus. And because of Francesca, my little girl, who is highly vulnerable with a history of double pneumonias, absolutely no way on earth we can put her at any risk, because if she got coronavirus, I'm certain it would kill her. So I had to stop going to South Lodge. So I've not been to South Lodge since the beginning of March. So effectively, I think that job's gone. I had a few part-time little cleaning jobs, some of which I'd had for years and years and years. And of course, all the people I cleaned for were elderly. So literally one after another, they all rang me up and said, oh, I don't think you'd better come, Babs. So literally in the space of a week, I went from rushing around like an idiot, which I love, to having absolutely nothing to do. And of course, virtually no income either. So that's been a real stinker. I've managed to claw back a couple of cleaning jobs, but I'm doing about, I don't know, 6 or 7 hours a week. I used to do 40 or 50. So that's been a real tricky one. My social life was always a bit iffy. That's one of the reasons I joined Rotary, because I effectively live on my own. I have Francesca at weekends, but during the week I'm on my own. And one of the reasons I joined Rotary, there were lots of reasons, but one was to try and increase my social life. So I miss that, because like quite a few people have mentioned, doing it online is better than nothing, but it's not great. It's not the same as being in a room full of people and having, you know, nice little chats. I used to do yoga. That's gone, of course. Quiz night on a Tuesday night. Haven't done that since February. So that's been tough. And of course, the one thing that I used to really, really look forward to, which again, a lot of you know, was my holidays. Because I'd said for years and years and years that I would get to the point in my life where the only reason I worked my tripe out was so that I could have nice holidays, because I don't do makeup, I don't do clothes, as I'm sure you know. I'm a celiac, so I don't do much in the way of food. So my one extravagance was my cruises. And of course, not a chance. So I've seen 4 holidays go down the pan this year. Should have been going on a Christmas cruise with my daughters for the first time ever this December. That's gone, of course. We'd booked to go away over Easter, myself, Dave and Francesca. and we'd paid for it, and foolishly I cancelled it when I saw what was happening. If I'd held my horses and waited for the holiday company to cancel it, I wouldn't have been £2,500 out of pocket, but there you go. Hey ho. So that's pretty much it. As I say, like Bernard, I do feel the isolation. I don't like it. In fact, I absolutely hate it. And my biggest concern is I don't really see an end to it, certainly not in any, short space of time. So yeah, it's tough.
Thank you for sharing that very personal story there. It's really interesting to see how easy it is for people to just fall through the cracks. I mean, there have been support initiatives and funding available and loans and grants, but none of it seems to apply to either you or Bernard in terms of what you're finding difficult in this climate. Yeah,
I mean, my biggest problem isn't financial, strangely enough, because all the things I would normally spend my money on, I can't anyway. And one of the very good things now about Francesca, my daughter, now that she's an adult, is that she is actually entitled to an NHS care budget. And you may or may not know that we had terrible problems in 2019 with her care providers who nearly killed her. So it's a long story, and if you haven't heard it, I'll bore you with it some other time. But we ended up having her back home, so she lives with her dad during the week and me at weekends, and we are now able to access that NHS care budget. So I do actually still have sufficient income to live on, just obviously all the jobs that were mine have gone. And that bizarrely is another reason for keeping Francesca terribly safe, because apart from the fact that she's my daughter and I would be heartbroken if I lost her, of course I would, but she is also my revenue stream. She is my income, so it's another reason for being terribly careful and shielding her.
Okay, thank you. Chris Mitchell, if you're there we go.
Right, so could you give the thumbs up if I'm on air? Oh, good. Well, my lockdown period has been fairly uneventful in almost all ways, in that my wife and I are here and she's got a very low immune system. So we're being fairly careful about not socializing very much. But in terms of activities during lockdown, I've been doing a lot of gardening. So the garden's absolutely immaculate, as are, I think, most people's gardens at the end of all this. Not that there is an end to all this at the moment, but I've been doing quite a lot of walking in the country, which is easy from home. A lot of walks. I've discovered some new routes as well. I've been playing tennis a bit, a couple of times a week when muscles permit. And I've been doing one fourth thing, which is rather more interesting, and I'll complete my 3 minutes with this, in that I've managed to get a publishing contract with Haynes Publishing, the people who used to publish lots of workshop manuals. And anyway, they've asked me really to write a book on my 30 years in the motor accessory trade, the golden years of motor accessories, which sounds very boring, but it was actually quite fun. And it was 1960 to 1990, basically. And I thought I would just recount to you one anecdote that appears in the book, as it very much involves one of our members, one of our late members, I should say, Robin Sturgis, who in 1960 I went to work for when he opened the first motor accessory shop in the Midlands, 169 Walnut Street, Leicester. And most of you will have had a very soft spot for Robin, who was a great entrepreneur and very good fun, but he was also a very good racing driver in his day. And when I went to work for him, and this is the section in the book I'm referring to, which I've spent lockdown writing most of it. 1960, when I went to work for him, he had been racing a C-type Jaguar. And news came along that the new E-type Jaguar was coming out. So, of course, he thought, well, I've got to get rid of this old D-type Jaguar. it's got to go. So he put a little advert in Motorsport magazine, very small ad, about 2 inches high and 2 columns across, with a picture of his D-type Jaguar on a trailer, and said offers invited around £1,000. And it sold extremely quickly. £1,000 D-type on trailer, and lo and behold, about a month later, the super new E-type Jaguar came along, which was a glorious car, and that's another story, but he raced that as well. Anyway, to move forward very, very, very many years to May 2016, this very car went on sale in Monte Carlo, and Bonhams, the auctioneers, were handling it. And this is the front of the auction catalogue, which you may be able to see. And this was the car. And anyway, May 2016, Bonhams asked our friend Robin Sturgis along to the auction, and basically the car sold for €8 million, including tax and commission. And that's a little bit of my book, one of many stories, and that's the end of my 3 minutes for today.
Oh,
Thank
fabulous, Chris. When will your book be coming out?
you. Middle of next year.
Okay, I look forward to getting my signed copy. I'll certainly be purchasing one.
Oh, definitely, no problem.
Thank you, Chris. Derek. Derek, are you there? Maybe Derek. Derek, if you're ready, would you like to share? You just need to unmute yourself. There'll be a button in the bottom left. It looks like a microphone. Unfortunately, I can't unmute from my end. I can try and... Oh, there we go. Is that...
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yeah, I can. I can unmute you. I just realised I can. Yeah.
Well, this weekend, you're coming back. Let's have a look. I can't see what's happening.
What do you see?
I've just got Zoom on the front cover here. Nothing else.
Oh, look in the bottom, sorry, the top right of your screen. You can sometimes...
This last weekend, I've just celebrated 60 years as a clergyman.
Wow, congratulations.
It's a long time, yes. And during that time, I have taken hundreds of funerals. And it's been suggested many times that I should put some of them into a book. So that's exactly what I have been doing in the book at the moment, 400 pages. It's because it tells the stories of people who, not only members of the church, of course, but people who've played a large part in the life of the community, including several Rotarians. I just made, these people, of course, many of you won't remember. There was Bert Bream, Michael and Sue Coughlin, Frank Dolman, Dr. Dolman, Ernest Frizzell, Joe Josephs, my predecessor, who was Vicar of St. James the Greater, and Bishop Richard Rutt. He used to come to Rotary. The other bishops have not been quite so good in attendance, but he used to come. And so I've got a friend called Graham Jagger, and we got together, and I've kept nearly all these addresses, but some I haven't got a date on them, and so I've got to go through the church register to make sure I get it absolutely right. But I'm going to put them, I am putting them into a book, and as I said, it's about 400 pages at the moment of people who've departed this life and who shouldn't be forgotten, who contributed not only to the life of the church, but to the community as well. And some of them, are the older members of the Rotary Club here. I'm not sure who I can see up here who could remember them. I'm not sure. There are many. I don't think anybody up there can, at least the list I've got in front of me. So And so that has occupied a lot of my time. That's my 3 minutes, I think.
Thank you, Derek. I did see a few heads nodding as you were mentioning those names, so rest assured there are members here.
Well, when I was the president of Rotary, of course, we filled the King's Hall in the Grand Hotel, and all that's gone now. You see, we are down to 52. Did I hear this morning? 52 members.
Well, that's because, yes, that's because I don't think I haven't got your charisma and magnetism. That's why.
It's a great shame that the numbers have dropped like they have, because I've been a Rotarian since I was the rector of Burton Latimer in 1960. I went there in 1967. 1968, I became a Rotarian. So I've been a long time, and I've always thought it was a great privilege. I've enjoyed it, and I've never missed very many meetings.
Thank you. It's been great to have you on board. Right, and we're just going to finish with Moira.
Right, well, lockdown was on my own as an over 70 asthmatic, with a priority to keep well in order to be able to visit my brother in his nursing home at the earliest opportunity. The effect of lockdown was a complete loss of structure to my days and weeks. No Rotary, no church, no choir, etc. No cleaning lady, no hairdresser, no chiropodist. So I had to find a new daily structure. So in the morning, I'd start with emails and paperwork, and then I'd do a bit of cleaning and household chores. For example, I clean one window a day, but I'm still the worst window cleaner in the world. Then I do some telephone calls, checking on others, and this could actually take a long time. I had some daily exercise routines, which was a first for me, but I'm still doing them. They were with a resistance band. I would recover from those watching Bargain Hunt on the telly before lunch, and I had lunch whilst watching the news. Then I do some gardening, and every day, almost every day from then until now, I have walked 3 to 5 miles alone in the countryside. Actually, never alone, because there's always little planes and helicopters from Stoughton Airport, which seem to be tracking my every move across the fields and the footpaths. Then I'd make dinner, often batch cooking to fill the freezer, and I can spend hours choosing recipes. In between, jigsaws, can't walk past without stopping to put in at least one piece. Puzzles, tapestry, reading. I did my shopping once a week. I did the wrinkly slot at 8 o'clock at Sainsbury's on a Monday morning. I soon learned the queue had gone by 8:10. And then I could at last be useful and help with some of the housebound neighbours' shopping. I had a veg and fruit box delivered initially from a farm shop until the week they sent me 13 bananas. It was a good job my neighbours like banana bread. All meetings were on Zoom, as and when. So I can't say that I was bored, but the monotony was not much fun. You can't beat face-to-face contact, and as other people have said, however much remote contact you have, you can still be quite lonely in these circumstances.
Thank you, Moira. What I'd like to do now is if everybody can unmute themselves, and if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to share them.
Well, I think the first thing I'll say is that, I mean, mine might have come across as being a bit, pretty miserable. And, a lot of the time it has been miserable. But like Moira, I've had lots of jigsaws on the go, and I have read and read and read, and boy, have I watched some junk on the telly. I really have. And yeah, you know, I've been doing the walks, and as I say, I have got a couple of cleaning jobs back. One of the strange benefits for me, oddly, through the auspices of Zoom, is I've actually seen more of my daughters in London than I would ever normally see, because I think they've realised that their poor old mother stuck up here with nothing to do is going slowly dotty. So I've had regular Zoom calls with the two of them together, because they live in flats next door to each other. So I don't think they're too worried about any social distancing between them. So on a Sunday, I have a Zoom chat with both of them. On a Tuesday, I have a telephone chat with Sam. They're both still working full time, although Sam's working from home. And then on a Thursday, I have a telephone call with Hazel. That's 3 contacts a week, which before, when we all had lives, unheard of. So yeah, that is nice. It's nice to have more contact with them.
It's interesting. Thank you. Any of the members would like to share any comments or questions?
My missus has started to, she's got into jigsaws as well. We got hundreds of them in the garage now. So if anybody wants a jigsaw that they haven't done, just ask. I'd like to get rid of them. If not, they'll be going to Age UK.
David, you can let me have 3 or 4 if you'd like to sometime.
Yeah, okay. I don't quite know how we'll hand them over, but you're very welcome to them.
Well, I'm brave enough if you are.
Whereabouts are you?
Oadby.
Oh, well, that's not too. Well, I'm in Great Glen.
Oh well, if you're coming into Leicester or whatever, then give us a shout. You've got my phone number, haven't you?
You're in the book. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Will do.
Yeah, lovely. I'll have a couple off you.
I think one of the things that Babs mentioned about getting together with family is great. One of the things I started really early on was a meeting of our family across the road. We get 21 families joining on a fortnightly basis, and that's great fun. And we're actually getting to hear more about them than we do normally, because it's normally been only we get together for weddings in the States. And in addition to that, which Pam joins, there is now a cousin story time where the younger members do reading once a week, and the aunties join in and help as well. So that's been really good. And we've got great meetings with friends in Australia. We have a theatre goers evening, people that go to the little theatre that we're running. So there's been some really good things that Zoom have done. And this is my 166th Zoom meeting since the start of the lockdown. So great things coming out.
You should be a salesperson to Zoom.
It does rather worry me, Rodney, that you actually know that it's your 166th.
Sorry, Steve.
Oh, that's great to see that you've embraced it. Brilliant. Okay, at this point, I'll bring the meeting to a close. We don't have Richard Power today, so we won't be getting an update, but I will be keeping in touch with him. Maybe perhaps we can record another update next week. Next week meeting will be Richard Bird, who will be sharing the Queen Victoria's letters, an insight into the mind of a monarch through her written correspondence. There are no meetings today after lunch, but I will stay on the call if anybody would like to speak to me about anything. So thank you for joining, and this meeting stands adjourned.
Parmdeep, one thing I would just like to ask you, what was the problem with John Aldridge?
His wife.
Yeah, I don't know.
She's very ill.
Oh, right. Oh, dear. Terminally ill?
She had, yes.
Leukemia, I think.
Oh, how awful.
Leukemia, but no, it's sepsis, I think that's the word. And the family up there, I do speak to him. I don't speak to people over weekends because I always think that's family time. But I do speak to him 2 or 3 times a week.
Okay, thanks for that.
Yeah, Babs, I'm just going to read my last message, the last email that I had from John. He did say, this was on Wednesday. Thanks for your kind message. June is weakening and sleeping more, but is being wonderfully cared for by the palliative care team. I plan to be back on Mondays as soon as I can, but in the meantime, I'm grateful for your caring support. So please feel free to drop him a line and
Yeah,
Sure.
I will do.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
No worries. Yeah. Yeah, you're all welcome to go back into your real wild lives as and when you like. So, but I'll stick around if you'd like to ask me anything.
Cheers. Bye.
See you, John. See you, Brandon. Thanks for sharing. David, I'll give you a shout about the application.
Okay.
I'll let you go. I'll catch you later. Take care. Bye.
Bye.